I hereby call to order the Thursday, 29th, 2017 business meeting and ask the administrator to please take the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. It's another beautiful summer day. Joining us this morning is County Counsel Stephen Madcore, and then, as always, Mary Rathke, our clerk to the board. I'll start with a roll. Commissioner Humberston.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Savis. Chair Bernard.
Here, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I missed that. So we'll start with citizen communication. Steve Cianello and Les Poole. We were all discussing how to pronounce that. We asked the Italian on the end.
There you go. You guys should know by now.
We're still working on Humberston.
Yeah. So please give us your name and your general location where you live.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Steve Cianello, and I'm located in Beaver Creek, Oregon. I am here before you today to address concerns with lack of public safety that is being observed throughout Clackamas County. So the first question is, who in Clackamas County is responsible for protecting its law-abiding citizens? Here is just one example of many issues happening all over Clackamas County. An adjacent neighbor hired someone to run a large excavator for over a week until 4 a.m. in the morning, in which for several nights it operated just a few hundred feet from my children's bedroom windows, in which I measured the noise at 85 dBA with a OSHA certified noise meter. I and another neighbor called this into the sheriff's office, and 2 deputies on my front porch at 3 a.m. verified that this was a direct violation of the noise nuisance ordinance. Even though one of the 2 deputies spent time on SWAT, and both are obviously well-trained and armed, both refused to go over and shut it down or issue a citation, claiming they were afraid to, and it was a safety issue for them, in which I believe the instructions came through their sergeant not to do anything. Again, this is just one example of many issues that have been coming from this property for over 2 years. Again, this type of behavior is happening on many other properties in Clackamas County, yet the sheriff's office has done little to protect their communities. Just like the Detective Green investigation, where for years serious crimes were not investigated correctly or followed up on. And this was known by upper management, and just like the first report I gave to the sheriff's office on June 11th of 2015, in which I requested a full investigation to be done on this property, just to find out later that no one at the sheriff's office did anything. Just like during the budget committee meetings when Sheriff Craig Roberts was asked by one of the commissioners, what is the sheriff's office doing to protect the citizens from neighbors who are repeatedly engaged in bad behavior and harassment towards others? For Craig Roberts just to avoid the question, and instead, in my opinion, his responses were more concerned with the receiving locally and national recognition, which means nothing to the citizens that are continuously being victimized by bad behavior throughout the county. So what is it going to take for the sheriff's office and Clackamas County to start being proactive? Do children have to start being assaulted on these neighboring properties? Or is the sheriff's office waiting for more homicides to occur? Or is the sheriff's office just going to leave it up to the citizens to protect themselves? So I ask you, commissioners, again, as I have asked many sheriff deputies with no response, who in Clackamas County is now responsible for protecting its citizens? The public has the right to know. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to look into that a little bit and see what we can do.
Chair,
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to bring this out in the budget committee meetings when we had an opportunity to speak with the sheriff about what's going to be enforced and not enforced. And, you know, I came away that day later in the evening when I was home that it almost seems that certain groups, that they grow a certain crop, basically don't have the same, they meet the same requirements of civility. And it just seems to be, it's wrong, especially here today. We're about ready to approve a substantial budget, a lot of which, almost all our discretionary money is going towards law enforcement. And it's particularly troubling after a meeting like last night when the community's saying, you know, why can't we do that? Why can't we do this? And the issue boils down to resources, not having maybe adequate staff to do some of the planning and programming in an area of which that CPO is, which is the Milwaukee area. We keep on saying we don't have the money, but here it is today. We're taking a substantial amount of our revenue and adding to the tune of several $1 million to that budget, and yet other areas and taxpayers where those monies are derived from don't even seem to have enough. We don't seem to have the wherewithal to provide one more planning staff to make some of those things happen. So I think we've got to understand our priorities, and I think it's insane to think that anyone at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning can have an activity like that, and we do nothing. It's a disgrace.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Sonia?
Oh, I just noticed that your blue card didn't have any contact information. Could you leave that with Mary, or so we can get back in touch with you after we look into this?
I believe they all have it, but I can provide
Oh.
it again. Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Sure. She's going to give it to you. Les, we don't want yours. You need, yeah, it'd be helpful if people fill these out all the way, even you. All right, Les, go
Les
ahead.
Poole, I live in 97027. That's Gladstone. You probably have heard, and if you haven't, they're getting closer to passing a transportation bill. I wish I could say that it's going to be everything everyone wanted, but not possible. I mean, they were talking about $8 billion and an incredible array of increases in taxes and fees to pay for it. But it looks like they will put out a gas tax smaller than what they proposed. I'd like to tell you that they were listening to me, but the common sense got the best of them, and they did the right thing and reduced the amount. And hopefully they'll stay with 50% of it going towards the local jurisdictions. I have been just all over them about I-205, and I don't know if I've made it clear in all my conversations here, but one of the biggest reasons why 205 needs to be widened and the Abernathy Bridge needs to be addressed is that for them to start working on the Rose Corridor or on I-5 or to ever do anything with the CRC, the bridge to Vancouver, that is just going to deflect even more traffic. 205 was supposedly a bypass when it was built, and I can only imagine what's going to happen when they start working on the other freeway and don't get 205 widened first. So I appreciate everyone that's put energy into making that happen. That's been on the books a long time. There's an item on the consent agenda, a couple of Department of Transportation and Development, and I just hope that when the money and the grants go out for that planning there, because I'm not here to oppose that our planners and everyone understand how constrained that environment is. That was not a very good place to end the line. It was a convenient place, and it's really constrained. So when you hear 60 units per acre at Park Avenue, you better have your eyebrows raised. It's a real challenge there, and again, I'm not opposed to the grants or planning there, but it's a dicey situation, and a lot of folks say, well, let's just slow the highway down to 30 miles an hour, and if you know anything about traffic or roads or the fact that that is still a state highway, we call it McLaughlin, they call it 99E, and that whole thing at Park Avenue is really going to be challenging, so hopefully we get a good outcome. Last thing I want to mention real briefly is here we are, the ethics panel, as it's called, which is the Ethics Commission, is going to pick back up the investigation of former Governor Kitzhaber. The reason they're doing that is that after a long investigation by higher authorities, nothing came of it. My point is, I'm not here to beat the drum about Kitzhaber. My point is that Mr. Kitzhaber and Ms. Hayes both were being looked into about grants that came her way. And what was the grants for? Anyone know? I think everyone should look it up because they were Energy Department money. And if you look at what's happening at the Department of Energy in Oregon with the resignations and the waste that's gone on, you understand why people come in here and say the things they do. And it reflects on everyone, and I appreciate your time. I am not pointing any of this criticism at this board, but there's a trust issue out there, and it's time that things changed in Salem. Thank you, folks.
So Les, where'd you hear the 50 units per acre? I've never heard that one before. That's a new one.
No, what I mentioned was it's kind of a generic number that gets tossed around.
Really? I've never heard that generic number tossed around.
Yeah, I've seen it on many occasions.
I want to add that, you know, 205 was stripped from the transportation package. We have worked, all of us, really hard to get it back on. It's a possibility it will get back on from what I heard today. So we have staff working into the early morning, working on getting that to happen. I've had an opportunity to talk to a number of people, and the legislators are. The interesting thing is that the truckers were opposing the package, and when they found out the bottlenecks weren't being included, then they were going to oppose this package. So what do you want? So it looks like they're negotiating that. And you're exactly right about if you do the Columbia River crossing, you've got to have one of the roads done, and 205 makes sense. And from what I heard today, that the city of Portland's really not that concerned about the Rose Quarter. So let's get 205 done. So thanks.
Thank you all.
So yes, oh.
I just wanted to respond to the ethics issue that Les raised. And I think I probably speak for everybody at the table here. And I've had this conversation with a staff member this morning. We see oftentimes where people in high office get their hands or fingers slapped in a relatively minor way for transgressions. I will tell you that I think everybody in this on this board believes that we're required to set a higher standard of behavior, and that we should be held to a higher standard of behavior when we are elected to these offices, or when you're appointed as a police officer, or sheriff, or any other public agency. We are responsible to the public, and public trust is critical to effective government. We can't always do everything that people want us to do, but we can be honest and ethical. That is well within our power, and I think we should be held to a higher standard in terms of our personal conduct, and that consequences for that behavior should be more severe than they would be on the average citizen, quite frankly. We are given tremendous trust and authority to make decisions, and the only way you can live up to that is with high ethical standards. And I think everybody at this table believes in those values. And I certainly commit myself to continuing to function in that way. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Terry Gibson and Bill Weir, please.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. I'd first also like to thank Commissioners Fisher and Schrader for showing up at the Schoolyard Farms yesterday. We had 50 volunteers from Intergraphics choose that venue as their volunteer workday for the summer, and so we got over 100 hours of labor. and they also made a $2,000 donation to Schoolyard Farms. So we were very excited to see the commissioners there supporting that project. But the reason I'm here today is to talk to you about the Park Avenue Station Development and Design Standards Grant, which I personally have been working on with the McLaughlin Area Plan Implementation Team and county staff and other members, volunteer members of the community and business community. Everybody that has been working on this project and I've talked to has been very much in favor of this project because it has been such a controversial development in the community that has languished there for several years. And although I've lived in the community for 27 years, I've only really been volunteering for the last 20 of those, but I've never seen a level of interest, of excitement and energy and focus and professionalism, not only from the community, but particularly there is probably the best working relationship with county staff that I've encountered to this date, and other members of the project management team have expressed similar sentiments. And so I'm really excited about the future of working with Clackamas County. The word trust was mentioned in an earlier testimony, and we're starting to feel trust again. I'm seeing trust again in the McLaughlin Area Plan area with the support that we've been getting from the commissioners. So the future of McLaughlin Boulevard is in your hands, and this is I realize it's on the consent agenda, so I'm going to assume that it's going to be approved, and I look forward to working with all of you personally on this project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Bill.
Well, good morning, Chairman Bernard and Commissioners. My name is Bill Ware. I'm a resident of the former city of Damascus and former council president. I'm concerned whether the county is meeting its fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of Damascus. I want to speak about the intergovernmental agreement regarding the sale of property on Damascus Lane between Clackamas County and Fire District 1. When the city of Damascus surrendered its charter in July 2016, there was a transfer of all cash, real estate, and business equipment to the county. There is to be net proceeds given at a date in the future to Damascus taxpayers. I believe that this transaction impacts that end result and is part of an unfair process. The sales price agreed to between the county and the fire department is $235,000. The appraisal came in at $235,000. The county assessed it at a market of $356,380 and is categorized as commercial with a zoning of RA1. The appraisal is formatted as a residential appraisal, when indeed it has been used for decades as commercial and government use. The appraiser indicates highest and best use should be commercial. I spoke with a seasoned commercial realtor who estimated this property would sell between $500,000 and $600,000 in a 30-day period. There's a number of questions from the appraisal itself, including a repossession comparison that helped lowball the appraisal. I request that the sale be placed on review and an open hearing before closing for transparency and accountability. By selling it for a low price to the fire department, this precludes other opportunities and forces the taxpayers of Damascus to be paying for a property they already own. The Sheriff's Department is there now, which services the community. Why vacate them when there's an existing fire station a couple of blocks away? Since a certain amount of people involved in the fire department negotiations or support were also involved for years in advancing disincorporation at the same time, this property could be part of the spoils of disincorporation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say Mr. Ware contacted me and I forwarded his email to staff, and I got a reply back, and I replied to that reply with the two questions of, did the property sell, or did the city of Damascus buy the property for $280,000? And also, I forgot what the other question I asked was, but I asked two questions I'm awaiting a response from, and I took into question, I was shocked to hear that the appraisal came in at $235 to begin with, because I had heard locally that anything out there was, you know, north of $500,000. So I'm looking into it, and hopefully our staff can get back to you. I know that you were contacted, but I've got some follow-up questions since
Yes,
that
I
contact.
really appreciate the rapid response by staff. And I just want to say, I don't have time in the 3 minutes, but that appraisal raises more questions than it answers. And I don't want to go into time on this right now, but the very format of it, and coming in at such a low price, having being appraised as a residence when it is not a residence, there was no interior inspection. There's a sketch showing an office and a meeting room. That's not a residential appraisal. And it hasn't been used as a residence. And there's just the whole, and there's more. I just don't want to, I don't have the time to go into the elements of that appraisal, but it's very questionable.
Well, I think our concern, our goal was to try to be part of this transaction, try to use some of those resources for search and rescue, which really serves our broad community, right? So that's residents around the county, and that's something that we still haven't accomplished. And I was hoping that actually, whether it be the sheriff's office or it be the fire district or someone could help search and rescue with the simple place to store their equipment. That would have been an ideal spot. But so we are still seeking a solution to that. And again, I think in the end of the day, whatever resources derived from there will go towards public good in the county to serve all residents. But we'll have more details, I think, when I get my answers to my two questions.
Yeah, I didn't know that the appraisal, I've had appraisals done, and the significant difference between the two ways they appraise things. It's amazing, but there is a big public benefit to the fire district being there, and you know, when we were considering just selling it to, or letting somebody else use it, we got a lot of people who were pretty upset that we weren't going to give it to the fire department. One time we were talking about giving it to them, but then we had other things that, you know, the public also wants. So we were just trying to find a balance there. But
if I could, I might respond to the issue about the other fire station, which is actually, well, of course, right now it's not operating because it was struck by a fire itself. But that facility is located on a parcel of property that doesn't belong to the fire district, and the owner of that property was interested in being able to secure its own use of the property in the very near future, and that was the motivation underlying the fire district's interest in the Damascus Lane property.
Yeah, the other thing I think on record, when I first learned of the appraisal a couple months ago, or whenever that was, is that I had really was kind of concerned that the appraisal was actually done by the purchaser, the fire district in this place, as opposed to, or the wanting purchaser. And, you know, I think in any negotiation or whatever that may be, that, you know, perhaps we should have been the one to initiate the appraisal.
pretty common for the purchaser to do an appraisal, though.
Well, both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, that's taxpayer dollars. But, okay, so Ken.
Just, staff were acting on the board direction with respect to trying to find a location, maybe two locations, but at least one location where 4 different agencies from the county would be able to be housed and provide services in Damascus, and that was all part of the calculation. So we have the fire department, search and rescue, the sheriff's department, and road department, all of whom provide or would be providing services to the Damascus area. So the calculations on this were how do we provide services to Damascus, those 4 services in particular, with the land that we had available. You have raised a couple of questions that are interesting to me with respect to the appraisal, residence versus commercial, for example. But I just wanted you to know that that was the impetus behind what the staff have been working on. The intention of the board is to make sure that services are in fact provided to the community of Damascus, particularly those 4 services. How we do that has been what the question is. So we will look into it further, but that's the background. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Kirk Olson. Good morning, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me up. So Kirk Olson, I'm actually here on behalf of Trammell Crow Company, but I am a proud resident of Clackamas County. And you'll notice an item on your consent agenda regarding the Capps Road industrial site, the disposition of that to Trammell Crow Company. And so I am here to, I've met a couple of you, but just wanted to put a name and a face together since we're on the buyer side of that, and give you a little color about Trammell Crow and our history there. So Trammell Crow is a fairly large real estate development group. We've done projects recently for Subaru and Nike and Boeing, and we're currently developing about 3 million square feet in the metro area, including the Amazon facility, which is a $200 million facility out in Troutdale. Pretty significant effort there. At the end of the day, they'll probably employ close to 2,000 jobs out there for the local community. Trammell Crow has a history of partnering with local entities like the Port of Portland and the PDC, so we're very much approaching this task that we have, which is to develop a portion of the Capps Road industrial site right along with you all. We've been active in the market since the early 80s, and we've built about 20 buildings in Clackamas County since then over the years. And local companies now occupy those buildings that we built, like Pico Manufacturing and Baldor Electric and Interstate Metal Fabricators. My introduction and involvement with the Capps Road site goes back quite a ways. I've been working with Dan Johnson and his team, and Catherine and her team to try and locate companies to the site. I was asked on behalf of Organically Grown Company back in 2011 to try and figure it out for them, and unfortunately, they moved to the county to the north, and we couldn't retain them here. That's been the case for other groups that we've tried to locate on the site. And the site's a tough one. It just keeps throwing up obstacles, it seems. Dan has done a great job securing the wetlands issue at a federal level, state funds for the road construction, and so on. And we're excited to pick it up and continue on the good work and realize the county's vision of a Class A industrial park with lots of jobs down there. So I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity.
Great, thank you. Paul?
I do have a kind of a question. I'd just like to hear your perspective, knowing the lay of the land as you do. And we get sometimes inquiries for people you want to expand their business and need more land to do so, or businesses that seek trying to land here in Clackamas County. And it seems as though we don't really have a lot of large lots to accommodate some of those, ideally high employment type businesses. And other counties have significantly more inventory. And I know I sometimes get into disagreements about how much inventory we have that's available to do so. Just would like to hear your perspective on what you feel, how we kind of compare to other counties as far as available inventory for the next business, the next opportunity.
Yeah, and I've been involved in that study of industrial land in our region. I was lead team member back in 2010, I think it was, which was an effort between Metro and the Port of Portland and Portland Business Alliance and others to study really what we have. And you know, at the Metro level, oftentimes it's all about quantity. And what we wanted to do was define a little bit more about the quality, the shovel-ready status. And I'm familiar with your efforts following that initial report with McKinsey as your consultant. And, you know, generally speaking, the topography in and of itself in Clackamas County does not readily lend itself to large-scale industrial development. It's just tough to build on hills. So even just a little bit of slope has a huge impact. So there are geographical constraints in this county. The zoned industrial land are often found in what we would consider, companies would consider more tertiary markets like Estacada and others. Canby's done a great job attracting businesses. They're really a shining star, I think, sort of in this southern region of our metro area. But generally speaking, Clackamas County, I feel like lags certainly Washington County. Multnomah County's just about all done.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
So I just wanted to mention that I remember those conversations. I was on MPAC at the time, and I remember working on that issue too. But I got an email this morning from our EDC folks. Basically, the Beaver Creek Employment Area is forming a blue ribbon committee to advise on marketing and business recruitment strategies, and they're looking for members. And this is over 90 acres of vacant land, industrial land, in close proximity to Clackamas Community College. And they are actually opening broken ground already on an upcoming industrial technical center. And it's a 2-year commitment with 4 meetings per year. So if folks are interested from the business community and the development community, this is an opportunity where we do have some acreage available to get developed. So.
Thanks for that, for the notice. I wasn't aware that they were forming that committee, so I'll check it out.
City of Oregon City.
Mm-hmm. Okay. City of Oregon City, yep. Beaver Creek Employment Area,
all right.
Yep. So.
Thanks.
I guess I can add something. One of the reasons we live here, why I wouldn't live in Washington County for anything, traffic. Even though traffic here is terrible, getting worse all the time, so hopefully they'll fund the transportation package. But, I remember there are communities that give away everything to get somebody there, and sometimes they go away once they build it. Then they have to hope somebody comes back to get it. And some of those negotiations were, we want everything. That particular one was one of those. Now, with you guys on this project, I think it was a good, reasonable discussion and negotiation. So that's why I'm going to obviously support this. We've been working on this a long time, and the Transportation Department loaned money to buy this. They get some money. Hopefully we can put that on roads. And, I think that for Clackamas County, not giving away the farm just to get somebody there is important, and a philosophy I've believed in quite a while. So I look forward to the construction of that site, and the interest in that site, as you can imagine, is pretty hot now. I think our department told me they get calls every day now, so it's a good thing you did this now.
It's a good thing before the economy softens, which, it's not if, it's when. And, there's a good bit of wood to chop on the portion that we're buying. We've got some mass grading and some wetland work, and we've got to extend our own roadway down into it. But, we're really excited to get going, so we appreciate the opportunity.
Do you know who's moving in there yet, or I know you can't really tell me?
So, really over the years, we've presented the site, along with the team here to, 10 or 12 different companies. So, the demand won't abate. I think it'll only pick up. Our plan is to deliver, buildings on a speculative basis, which, is going to be well received. It's often difficult, as you know, for companies to plan, that long on the horizon, and it's always shocking how long it takes a piece of land to get developed and a building up. So we want to be market ready with buildings and offer them for lease or for sale.
Good. So hold off marijuana growers, please.
All right. We will.
Okay,
We
great.
will.
Yeah, just, we're after the jobs, good jobs that can support a family on an annual basis, year after year. That's what we're after. We're trying to grow our job base.
And the way that the agreement was crafted, as you know, is to, make sure that we're after the same thing. So we're very well aligned, and ultimately that's what we want as a resident of Clackamas. Big believer in family wage jobs. We certainly need more of them.
Yep. Well, Trauma Crow's got a great long history, so I'm familiar with it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Boy, that took a lot longer than I thought it would. Citizen communication. We're so rarely do we even have anyone in this room during budget hearings. All right, so the next are 15 public hearings. And first up, let County Administrator introduce this.
Okay, so I'm going to invite our budget manager, Diane Padilla, up to the dais. The first public hearing is to consider a resolution adopting the Clackamas County budget for 2017-2018, the fiscal year, and making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, here I'm here to request the final step in a multi-step public process. This budget has been studied and approved by a budget committee comprised of the 5 commissioners and 5 citizen volunteers. They've met on May 30th and 31st, and again on June 1st and June 6th. And during those sessions, they heard presentations from the department heads, asked their questions, received public testimony, deliberated, and then approved a budget. And this budget, as was published in the Lake Oswego Review on June 22nd, includes the changes made by the Budget Committee. The budget before you today also includes some housekeeping issues. They're situations that were discussed before the budget committees, and they are already incorporated in the budgets of the entities that are paying for the services, but we didn't always get them incorporated in the budgets of those receiving the services. Specifically, we're adding a position in procurement, which will be paid for by Water Environment Services, adding the initial construction cost to the budget for the OSU Extension Services Building, which will be paid for by the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District, and finally adding the project-funded construction positions and facilities to meet the demand created by doing those projects that was approved in the 17-18 budget. These amendments are within the Board of Commissioners' authority to approve at adoption, and they are detailed in your Exhibit A. And then the budget, and these last changes, the Exhibit A changes, are also incorporated in the Exhibit B, which is the final budget and is being presented for adoption. This budget also includes the Board of Commissioners, the Budget Committee's acceptance of the recommendations of the Compensation Board for elected officials to make salary adjustments, market adjustments to the commissioner's salary of 5.95%, to the assessor's salary of 4%, and to the treasurer's salary of 2%. Similarly, the budget includes acceptance of the recommendation of the county administrator to grant a 2.2% general increase for non-represented employees, in keeping with that provided for represented employees. To establish this budget for fiscal year 2017-18, we have specific actions to be taken. Adopt the budget of $782,460,147. Make appropriations in the amount of $710,164,000 $8,639. That difference being $72,295,508 held in reserves, which is not being appropriated and will not be spent in this next year. We need to categorize the permanent rate taxes and local option tax as falling under the general government limitation for Measure 5 purposes, and the levy for general obligation bond indebtedness as excluded from that limitation. And finally, impose the county's maximum permanent tax rates of $2.4042 per $1,000 of assessed value in cities that have 24-hour city police patrol services, and $2.9766 per $1,000 of assessed value in all other areas of the county, $0.248 per $1,000 of assessed value in the county for public safety via a local option levy, and finally, 10 cents per $1,000 of assessed value in the county for debt service on general obligation bonds. And with that, I respectfully request adoption of the 2017-18 budget for Clackamas County.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have any clarifying questions? See any lights on? So I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County as presented in the resolution. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, just a comment or two. As always, it's very difficult. As with anything, there's something in there you like, and there's some stuff in there you don't like. Seems like with all decisions about compromise, but you know, this is a bitter pill to swallow in the sense that our budget is bigger than it's ever been, and our amount of discretionary money is the smallest it's ever been. Our ability to move the needle, if you will, towards reprioritizing some of our dollars, or our ability to do so, is the smallest it's ever been, or nil, to quite the degree. So that's one issue I have, unfortunately, as well as, of course, just the increase in our own salaries as commissioners. I think that for the amount of dollars, we had one speaker here today talking about the public safety aspects and what has happened, our lack of revenue that we've seen, or what we were led to believe we would have if we had really engaged in the marijuana aspects. The growers and our staff time spent on that has really not reaped any benefit. As a matter of fact, it's really been a consequence to a lot of rural communities, especially in those neighboring communities that where these grows have somehow have engaged in very unfriendly neighborly practices. Not all. I mean, there are some folks that are really good neighbors and run their operations very legitimately and have been very cordial and constructive, but we've got a lot of bad actors out there. And I think at the very least, we have a right to protect those folks and make sure their quality of life and the living conditions are, you know, taken care of and they're protected. But running bulldozers at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, frankly, to deliberately aggravate and is just unacceptable. So I think that our ability to make sure our citizens are getting value for the monies that are being budgeted is important. That, again, as Mr. Cianello said earlier, that's only one example of the repercussions of that. So I'm begrudgingly supporting this, but and I won't go into detail about all the other aspects, but I just wanted to make that as a point here today.
Great. So I have a couple comments. So this year's budget is flat, even though it's grown. We've been able to keep our contingencies and reserves whole. We haven't had to tap into those, and we've aligned the budget with our priorities as outlined by the results-based strategy plan. So I think that even though you may not see a lot of discretionary money, I think our administrator and staff has done a good job aligning those dollars where we as a commission feel it's very important. That is in youth and families, in our court system, in our juvenile departments, in our parole and probation programs, all those programs that are key to helping people get on the right path. Also our health clinics, and we've done a great job. And years ago I used to say someday we're going to be a billion-dollar corporation, and I used to get a lot of criticism for that. It's not because we raised taxes, it's because the value of our community has increased. And again, I hope the legislature passes the transportation bill, because part of what is valuable in a community is the investments we invested in over the years, and there's billions in transportation dollars that we cannot maintain because of our limitations by law of how we can use our general fund money. But we as a county, of course, 1.15 is not your property taxes. It's some property taxes, but it's also the utilities. We have many different departments. You'll see in a few minutes where we're taking our hats on and off, based upon the departments, and that's how it gets up so high. But I think we've done an incredible job. We used to have fun pinning up on a board the things that we should invest money in. It's harder when you have more money than when you have less money. So it makes it more challenging. It might have been fun to do that, but right now I think that now and in the future, with the work we're doing, we will be focusing our investments where the need is the greatest. And I think that's really, really important. And then our departments, what we're doing with our cable work that we're doing. I don't know if you noticed in the paper how much money we were saving the Westland School District because of the dark fiber we're bringing them. That is where we've been focusing our energies. If we can literally save them hundreds of thousands of dollars, the school district, so they can invest in the school, in the children which is the most important thing to do. So I'm pretty excited about this budget. It's one of the better ones. I just wish it wasn't so flat. I mean, I wish we had a little more discretion. But I think the important thing is that we did spend more money, where the state's given us less, and we think a priority is to invest in there. We are investing in there. But and we're maintaining departments that have been more and more challenged. So that's kind of why it looks flatter than it really is. So I don't remember if Ken was up next, or do you mind if Don goes first? Okay, Don.
Well, I was just going to take a quick moment to provide some thank yous for this early on, because as we get further into the other component units, the morning will wear on and folks will be in and out. But I especially wanted to express a thanks to Xinjiang, Roxanne Fisher, Diane Padilla, and Laurel Buttman for the outstanding work that they have put into developing the budget. And I also want to express my appreciation to all of the department directors and their financial staff for the work that they've done. There really are a lot of factors that have affected this budget, and I share Commissioner Savis's frustration about what it is we're able to do and not able to do with the budget that we have. I think probably the sort of principal constraint for this coming year that we had to plan for that has affected what we can and can't do really has to do with the PERS issue, the retirement system issue, which net overall for the entire budget represents about a $5 million increase in the retirement costs that the county encumbers as a result of the issues with PERS statewide. So I am satisfied that we have made some progress moving the sheriff's budget towards fiscal stability. You will recall that earlier in the year for preparation, the projections showed a $6.5 million disparity between income and expenses for the sheriff's office. We've got more work to do with regard to that. I think it will help that we have merged the sheriff's levy fund with the operating fund, which will give us a better, fuller, and more whole picture of how the budget works for the office operations. And in particular, and I credit the Budget Committee for their interest in this, the budget with the cooperation of the Sheriff's Office is stating and incorporating the request that the Sheriff's budget participate in the results-based strategic plan, performance Clackamas, and so that's stated in a part of the package, and I think that will help over the long run as we're looking at what to do with the demand that law enforcement services have on the county's general fund overall. So looking forward to that. So thank you.
Commissioner Hubbardston.
Well, Don took most of what I was going to say, but I'll make one comment, and that is Health and Human Services portion of our and housing portion of our budget is about 40+% dependent upon state and federal monies, and at this point we don't know what the state and federal government are going to do with the budget. So this budget, which is a maintenance level budget as it has been described, does leave us some room if we find that we get cuts from the state and federal government to be able to do some backfilling in areas where we have people that are being served that are most vulnerable in our community. And so I really want to commend staff for developing a budget that will give us a little bit of breathing room if we are, shall we say, disappointed in the state and federal governments. So I'll leave my comments at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next on.
Okay, for the next item, I'm going to invite Deputy County Administrator Laurel Buttman up to the table. This is a public hearing to consider a resolution that would adopt changed fees for Clackamas County for fiscal year 2017-2018. Laurel?
Thank you, Don. So what we have here is fee changes that you have already provisionally approved. You've seen these before. I'll briefly go over them for the public that's in the room and watching online. Every year we look to have our departments come in early to tell us if they have fee changes. Often those are increases, and some of them this year are streamlining. So we had changes in the sheriff's office particularly at the range, at the Public Safety Training Center, to be more in line with the board's goal of bringing in more revenue through that. So there are minor adjustments and increases in the sheriff's fees for the range use and daily lane fee use and those types of things. Transportation and development, we didn't have so much fee changes as we had verbiage changes to streamline the process and make it more clear for the public who has to pay these fees. And so I won't go through those in detail because those are mostly verbiage changes. And then Health, Housing, and Human Services, we had some changes there as well to streamline tests and to continue to make the fees more in line with what will bring in the money that's needed to make the programs work. And also noting that they added some language about clients sliding fee scale eligibility in a couple of the fees so that we have some relief for people who don't have as much money to pay for theirs. And then under public health, they are continuing to try to work to increase their fees to be more self-sustaining as per the board's recommendation. Most of those fees raised about 6% this year. Is a multi-year effort to get those more in line so that they can be more self-sustaining. And then under the lab costs. It wasn't so much fee changes, though there were some minor ones. It was adding in new types of well, these are lab tests, particularly for drug tests, adding in new drugs that are out there that weren't recognized before. And that concludes what I was going to say, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. I'll open the public hearing, ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve and adopt the changed fees for Clackamas County fiscal year 2017-2018 as presented in the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second?
Been moved and seconded that we approve the adoption of changes in fees for Clackamas County fiscal year 2017-2018 as presented in the resolution. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The next item, I'd like to announce that we're going to recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Enhanced Law Enforcement District, and we will be changing hats for the rest of the meeting.
Yes, and of course, I changed my hat too. I am now serving as the District Administrator for the Enhanced Law Enforcement District. This is a public hearing to consider a resolution adopting the Enhanced Law Enforcement District budget for the 2017-2018 fiscal year, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And again, we have our Budget Manager, Diane Padilla, here to present this item.
Good morning. The Enhanced Law Enforcement District was created by the voters in 1995, and it provides a higher level of patrol services in the unincorporated areas of the county within the urban growth boundary and Johnson City. The district this year will be able to support 35 sworn positions. That's one more, I should say, in fiscal 17-18, it will be able to support 35 positions. That's one more than has been supported this year in fiscal year 16-17. As was the case for the county budget, this is the final step of a multi-step public process. The budget was also approved by a budget committee which met on June 5th, reviewed the budget, provided an opportunity for public testimony, deliberated, and then approved a budget. This approved budget was published in the Lake Oswego Review on June 22nd. Again, there are specific actions to be taken. Adopt the budget and make appropriations in the amount of $7,010,188. Categorize all tax revenue as falling under the general government limitation for Measure 5 purposes, and impose the district's maximum permanent tax rate of $0.7198 per $1,000 of assessed value within district boundaries. And with that, I request adoption of the 2017-18 budget for the Clackamas County Enhanced Law Enforcement District.
Any clarifying questions? Don't see any. I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. With that, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the Clackamas County Enhanced Law Enforcement District as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County Enhanced Law Enforcement District as presented in the resolution. The reason we're letting Ken do all this because we can blame him.
Well, I keep looking to see if somebody else is going to do it, and I don't want to waste a lot of time just sitting here
That's right.
staring at each other, so we get it done.
All right, so any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The next item on the agenda, we're going to remove our hats and put on our other hats as the convene as the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District. And this time I do have somebody who'd like to speak. And
Yes.
Administrator?
So thank you, Mr. Chair. And you know, I think the next time we do this, I'm actually going to bring in 9 different hats to wear.
Promises, promises. I've been waiting for my hat since I've been here.
Yeah. So,
just don't take it out of the budget.
Don't make it baseball hats.
Well, they'll be more creative than just that, so. So this is a resolution, a public hearing to consider a resolution that would adopt the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District budget for the 2017-2018 fiscal year, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And again, we have our budget manager, Diane Padilla, to share her information on this item.
The Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District was approved by voters in November 2008 to allow programs serving families, youth, and agricultural and natural resource operations in the county to continue and to expand. These services include 4-H programs, technical assistance to farmers, family forest growers, nursery and Christmas tree growers, gardeners, and homemakers. Since the district's inception, it has also been accumulating resources toward its goal of building a new extension education center, which is to be built on the Red Soils campus here. The 2017-18 budget presented for adoption totals $7,894,815 and is as approved by the district's budget committee on June 5th and published in the Lake Oswego Review on June 22nd. Our actions to be taken are to adopt the budget, make appropriations in the amount of $7,894,815, categorize all tax revenue as falling under general government limitation for Measure 5 purposes, and impose the district's maximum permanent tax rate of 5 cents per $1,000 of assessed value within district boundaries. And I again would request adoption of the 2017-18 budget for the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Services District.
Great. What'd you say the total budget was?
It's just under $8 million, $7,894,000.
It used to be for every penny was $1 million, so it's now $8 million for 5 pennies. That's amazing. All right, I will. Any questions? I'll open the public hearing and ask. Les Poole would like to testify on this matter.
Hello again, Les Poole from Gladstone. Interesting that I would come up here and choose this of all the issues to comment on. I'll start by saying, if you knew how Marionberries came about and how they got their name, you'd realize what the Extension Service and what the farmers and what really matters to Clackamas County. One of the retired legislators told me that when they granted the money to help to the college, it was Oregon College then, Oregon State College, that of course it's in Benton County, but with the money came a promise that they would name them Marionberries, where the capital is. And my point in that is that the best thing we can do is keep people connected to farming and nature and agriculture. And that doesn't mean occasionally going out for a glass of wine and some good music. There's a lot of concern in the community about keeping the fair going. Is it going to be cut? Is someday things going to be sold off? We've all seen what happens with a church or with a publicly owned entity that falls on hard times, or maybe doesn't get the attention money-wise, and the next thing you know, you got problems. So this is a really good budget. It's a wise investment, and getting the kids with animals and having them learn how to care and nurture for something does so much more for them than any screen they could purchase, no matter how high the resolution is, no matter how beautiful the photo is on any screen they could be looking at. I don't care how big their iPad is. You get them out there in Mother Nature, and you get them around the farm and around animals, and they're going to learn how to treat people better. So by all means, keep this thing funded now and in the future, and keep our fair going. Thank you much.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Well, with that, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District as presented in the resolution.
Second.
Now we can't control them ourselves. So, Paul, that was you. I guess you beat her. All right, so we can blame you for this. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District as presented in this resolution. And this may be their 100th, because it's their 100th year. And I don't know if they had a budget back then, but I would have to assume somebody had a budget. But it's their 100th year, so it's pretty exciting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we're going to adjourn as the Extension Service and 4-H District and convene as the Library Service District of Clackamas County. Mr. County Administrator?
Okay, thank you very much. So this public hearing is to consider a resolution that would adopt the Library Service District of Clackamas County 2017-2018 fiscal year budget and making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And we have the Deputy Director of Business and Community Services, Laura Zentner, here to present this item to you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you are a staff report and a resolution to adopt the fiscal year 17-18 budget for the Library District of Clackamas County. The Library District Budget Committee met on June 5th, 2017 to hear the budget message, hear public comment, and deliberate on the proposed budget. The Budget Committee approved the budget in the amount of $20,321,915. As per Oregon budget law, the resolution before you addresses three important budget requirements. Adopt the budget and makes appropriations in the amount, again, of $20,321,915. Imposes the tax rate of 0.3974 per 1,000 of assessed value, and finally categorizes the tax levy as subject to general government limitations. Also, per Oregon budget law, a notice of this meeting and a financial summary of the approved budget were published in the Clackamas Review on June 21st. So with that, and to keep it brief, I would like to respectfully recommend adoption of the Library District budget for fiscal year 17-18.
Any clarifying questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. No one's coming up, so I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Chair, I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-18 budget for the Library Service District of Clackamas County as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the Library Service District of Clackamas County as presented. Any further discussion?
Yes. I just want to just say I attended the Library District Advisory Committee meeting on Monday evening, and they are slowly working on towards trying to clarify and recommend and put their input to the Board of County Commissioners as to the disposition of those funds to validate that in the cities, their contribution and so on. So they're cleaning their act, or actually there's a new group. I don't say they're cleaning their act. They're basically, the committee wasn't properly formed, so the new committee is actually taking the responsible steps on trying to put together the policies and format for reporting to the Board of County Commissioners. And hopefully, through those actions and others, we'll see a solution to the library situation in Gladstone and Oak Lodge, Jennings Lodge area as well.
Okay. Now I'm trying to, oh yeah, we've already done that. Okay, so all those, oh yeah, excuse me, Martha.
That's okay. I just want to make the comment that I think this is one of the more important budgets that we actually pass. I think that open access to information in the media for the public is really a bedrock of democracy. I've said this often enough, And it's a critical function that we have a significant part in, since we actually have auspice over the system that, actually the computer systems that make this possible in the county, even though our cities are the satellites that actually do the direct service delivery. But it's always a pleasure to pass this budget.
Thank you.
Great. Don't see any more lights. With that, I will wait, we're voting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The next item will announce that the board will adjourn as Library Service District of Clackamas County and convene as North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District for the next item. And County Administrator?
Thank you. And this public hearing is to consider a resolution adopting the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District's 2017-2018 fiscal year budget and making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. We have Mr. Scott Archer, the Director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, here to present this item to you.
Thank you, Mr. Krupp. Good morning, Commissioners. And just to note, we really do have some cool NCPRD hats that we could provide. They are ball caps, however, so we'd have to find different arrangements for Commissioner Humberston. Before you is a board order and staff report for the adoption of the North Clackamas Park and Recreation District budget for fiscal year 2017-18. The NCPRD Budget Committee met on June 5th, 2017 to receive the budget message, hear public comment, and deliberate on the proposed budget. The Budget Committee approved the budget in the amount of $55,091,141 with a tax rate of 53.82 cents per thousand of assessed value. Per budget law, we noticed this meeting and also a financial summary of the approved budget were published in the Clackamas Review on June 21 of 2017. With that, I would respectfully request and recommend your approval of the resolution adopting the North Clackamas Park and Recreation District budget for fiscal year 2017-2018.
Any clarifying questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the North Clackamas Park and Recreation District as presented in the resolution. Any further discussion? I see Commissioner Savas.
Yes, I do have a couple comments. I was hoping that soon we would have some kind of a rough pro forma of what the impacts would be with the withdrawal of the city of Happy Valley to this district and what how that's going to impact most especially the underserved and the severely underserved areas as identified in the master plan. Tuesday evening, I happened to be in one of those severely underserved areas, the Jennings Lodge area, in which they are going to have their annual barbecue. And last year they held in a parking lot because they have no park. So they thought they'd rather have it on grass, so they contacted the local school, and the local school said they wanted $1,000 to be able to rent the grass to have a picnic on. So they couldn't afford that, so they're going to have their picnic on an asphalt parking lot again. This is one of the most severely underserved areas, and I know that as cities clamor and successfully lobby the district at times for investments in there, I think we have to remember that there are areas that don't have anything.
Okay, so we did the moved and seconded. All those in favor say we did do it, right?
No.
We didn't? Oh.
He did.
See, we got 10 more to go here.
No, it was moved and seconded.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
You
okay.
see the vote.
Yeah, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Moving
you.
ahead to the next one.
Announce that the board will now adjourn as North Clackamas Park and Recreation District and convene as the development agency for the next item. I think I was going to say we had the pleasure of Dan Johnson, but I see he's still in back.
Yeah, so we have Mr. Dave Queener, the manager of the Development Agency, here to address this item. This is a public hearing to consider a resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget for the Clackamas County Development Agency. So, Mr. Queener.
Good morning. Pleased to be here this morning to present the 2017-18 Development Agency budget. Development Agency is the urban renewal authority for the county. The agency is responsible for implementing 3 urban renewal plan areas. That includes the Clackamas Town Center area, the Clackamas Industrial area, and the North Clackamas Revitalization area. Funding is typically provided through tax increment financing, which is a dedicated revenue source supporting the plan implementation. However, we only have one district that is currently collecting tax increment revenue, and that is the North Clackamas Revitalization area. The other 2 districts, those levies have been terminated, so we are no longer collecting those revenues through tax increment. Those remaining 2 districts, the Clackamas Industrial area and the Town Center, primary revenue source is through property sales only in those 2 districts. The budget before you today encompasses appropriations for 3 plan areas. The total agency budget is $54,993,398. As a percentage of budget appropriations, construction comprises approximately 86% of our appropriations, and programmatic expenditures is approximately 3%, with the total capital-related appropriations of approximately 90%. The Development Agency Budget Committee reviewed the budget document on June 5th and recommends your approval. Notice of these proceedings has been published in local newspapers as required by local budget law. With that, I respectfully request the approval of the resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the fiscal year 2017-18 Clackamas County Development Agency budget.
Any clarifying questions? I kind of have one.
Sure.
So you mentioned, and I know the answer to this, I just thought publicly, Clackamas Town Center, it kind of sounded like it was still open. I know there's money in the account, but we're no longer collecting any additional revenue except for interest, probably.
Yeah, that is correct. We no longer collect any revenue other than property sales. We do have funds available to continue implementation of the plan, but the only revenue is through property sales.
Great, thank you. Any other clarifying questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. And I don't see any. I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-18 budget for the Clackamas County Development Agency as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County Development Agency as presented in the resolution. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item, I'll announce that the board will adjourn as the Development Agency and convene as the Clackamas County Service District Number 1, which is street lighting, and for the next 2 items. And ask the administrator, please introduce the subject.
Yeah, so instead of a hat for this one, I was going to put on a headlamp to wear. So
I'll bring one next year for you.
So the first public hearing is on a resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget for the Clackamas County Service District Number 5. And we have the manager of the Street Lighting Service District, Wendy Coriel, here to shed a light on it for us.
Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. Wendy Coriel with Clackamas County Service District Number 5. Today, I'm before you requesting the board adopt the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County Service District Number 5. The board resolution before you today is for adopting the budget for Clackamas County Service District Number 5 and appropriating the funds in the amount of $4,693,283. The budget before you today for adoption is the budget reviewed and approved by the Budget Committee during the Budget Committee hearing on June 5th, 2017,
and the notice for today's hearing was duly advertised on June 21st, 2017 in the Clackamas Review. Mission of the district is to provide street lighting for the city of Happy Valley and also in the unincorporated areas of Clackamas County. District contracts with PGE, and they do the design, installation, maintenance, and operation for the street lights. And the cost for operating those street lights is passed on to those served by the district through the November property tax statements. Next, I'd like to go over a few of the highlights of this year's budget. The district is maintaining a construction line for capital projects in the amount of $1,400,000 and a capital project reserve of $200,000, which is 4.26% of the budget. The district increased rates in 2014-15 and 15-16 due to an unexpected 15% rate increase, which took effect in January of 2015. Savings from those 2013 LED conversions have offset these rate increases, and we are expecting to continue to offset the expected 0.5% PGE rate increase expected to impact the district in January of 2018. Last year, the district made no rate changes since the 5-year forecast showed that the funds were more than adequate to operate the district. And each year, the district reviews the rate structure, and the 5-year forecast this year shows that a 2% rate decrease in 11 of the 12 rate categories will provide the district an adequate ending fund balance. And with that, that ends my presentation. On behalf of Service District Number 5, I respectfully request approval of the board resolution adopting the budget and appropriating funds in the amount of $4,693,283 for Clackamas County Service District Number 5.
Any clarifying questions? I was kind of hoping you'd show us those various light poles. With that, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask if there's any, I'll entertain a motion first.
I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-18 budget for Clackamas County Service District Number 5 as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the Clackamas County Service District Number 1 as Number 5, as presented in the resolution. I'm reading it, and I do it anyway. And Commissioner Savas, do you want to discuss this
Yeah,
matter?
just in order to brighten our day here a little bit, I wanted to highlight the.
Oh, here we go.
wanted to highlight the celebration of the McLaughlin area lighting thing that we did this year. I mean, it was one of, again, a highlight of the year for the district. So thanks for all the good work and, again, the creativity in putting the financing package together to make this happen.
You seem to be making light of this issue.
Indeed.
I'm feeling the glow.
Poor thing.
Can we get this over with, please?
I
can't wait till we switch to a different subject.
I can't wait till we get to the next budget. Oh, boy. We'll see what we do.
Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye.
I'm empowered to vote aye.
And opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
You're the bright spot today, we must say.
So we have a second item, right?
One more.
Our
So
blood
the
sugar's
next
low.
public hearing for the Service District Number 5 is a resolution to consider setting rates for street lighting service charges in Clackamas County Service District Number 5.
See, we're not over yet. Okay. Again, I'm Wendy Coriel representing Clackamas County Service District Number 5. And now that the 2017-18 budget is adopted, Clackamas County Service District Number 5 needs to hold a public hearing on setting the rates proposed for 2017 and 18 budget. As I previously indicated, the recommended budget of $4,693,283 for the 2017-18 fiscal year proposes a rate decrease of 11 of the 12 rate categories, and these rates are assessed annually. Service District Number 5 Budget Committee approved a recommendation for the proposed rate structure as illustrated, and the attached board resolution and board report and this rate schedule hearing were duly advertised in the Clackamas Review on June 21st, 2017. Staff is recommending that the Board of County Commissioners, acting in the capacity of the governing body of Clackamas County Service District Number 5, approve this board resolution and public hearing setting rates for the street lighting service charges in Clackamas County Service District Number 5, which will adopt a new rate schedule for Clackamas County Service District Number 5. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding the rates.
Electrifying presentation. Oh. Any further, any questions?
It might generate a thought or two, but I'll pass.
You'd think it was late night, wouldn't you? Okay, so I'll open the public hearing and keep the crowd back, but no, nobody's coming. So I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move setting the rates for street lighting service charges in Clackamas County Service District Number 5 as presented in the resolution.
Brilliant resolution. I'll second that.
Is that a second?
Yes.
It's
Apparently so.
It's been moved and seconded to set the rates for a street lighting service district in Clackamas County Service District Number 5 as presented. Any further discussion? I hope not. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now I'll announce that we're going to adjourn as Clackamas County Service District Number 5 and convene as the governing body for the water environmental services for the next 3 items.
That'll throw a wet blanket on the rest of this, won't it? Thought I'd start it off.
Go from one of the shining moments to something less brilliant.
I'm beginning to think you guys are all wet, but
Oh, here we go.
we'll keep working on this.
Pour cold
So,
water on it.
of course, this is actually a bit of a milestone when we convene here as the governing board for water environment services, because this is representing the consolidation of what still is actually the Tri-City Service District and also the Surface Water Management Agency of Clackamas County into a single 190 entity. And so we have, for the first public hearing, the consideration of a resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget for water environment services. And we have the Director of Water Environment Services, Mr. Greg Geist, and the Finance Manager, Doug Wall, here to present this item to you.
Thank you, Mr. Krupp, Commissioners. And we are a service provider, WES, Water Environment Services. I'm the Director, Greg Geist. We serve over 165,000 folks in the county. Unlike the lighting district, we are a wastewater district, and so it doesn't lend itself to puns at all, so I apologize for that. I'm sure there's nothing you can think of related to what we do.
Don't bet on it.
Yeah. So we're going to start out with the budget for the Water Environment Services, which is, as Mr. Krupp alluded to, the combined entity now, the 190 municipal partnership between what was Tri-City Service District, or is Tri-City Service Districts, and the Surface Water Management Agency of Clackamas County. Total budget for that, including O&M capital reserves, is $19,028,457, and that represents mostly the increase this year is around solids handling and our Kellogg improvement projects. We are taking into account and implementing to the board's direction the implementation of our 190 this year. And we also, as Diane Padilla mentioned, are funding an additional position in the purchasing department to help us with our procurement process. In addition, we're going from 105 full-time equivalent positions to 106 this fiscal year. So that's it in a nutshell. I am pleased to say that our Budget Committee, for the first time in recent memory, even Doug's, was unanimous in their approval of our budget. And like the others, we've done the appropriate public notice. So.
Any clarifying questions? Clarifying.
Yes, I do have a clarifying question in this turbid environment that we're in.
All right, there it goes. Number one.
So Greg, I'm not really jumping ahead to the other item on the other page when it says establish a new system for development charge for water and environmental services as presented in the board order. But as it relates to system development charges and something that did come up in the budget committee and comes up every year, and I know you spoke to it during the budget committee. And again, I don't want to jump ahead, but because this is financial, I'm actually going to jump ahead a little bit. Can you clarify what that is and our involvement in that?
The system development charges? So system development charges are charges that we would charge a new development that comes into our service district, whether it's a single-family home or a business. The idea is that they need to buy into the infrastructure that they're going to be using. Unlike roads or other, say parks, we can't. We have to build it before they come. We can't afford or tolerate congestion, so to speak. Our system has to work, and we have to have the capacity when it's needed. The amount that we charge from a statutory standpoint is based on state law, and it's based on our capital improvement needs.
I'm sorry, maybe I confused. I think we know what they are. I'm just kind of curious as to when you say establish a new system development charge, what was our involvement in that?
Maybe I was just getting to that. There's a methodology that we use that's prescribed by statute, where we look at our capital improvement plan and we say, here's what we need to build, and then there's a formula that's used to establish a range of SDCs that we would apply. What we then do is go to our advisory committee, which we did. In this case, it was the Tri-City Advisory Committee, and present that information to them, get their thoughts, and then ultimately it was taken to the board. I think this was before my tenure, and the board would approve and adopt a system development charge. In this case, and as I'll talk about when we talk about the SDCs, there's a 5-year ramp up that was recommended by the advisory committee, the Citizen Advisory Committee, that we're in year 3 of implementing. And as we've talked about offline, I do think that it's nearing the time, and we're nearing a point in time where we need to revisit those SDCs and come back to do that work, the calculation based on an updated capital improvement plan, do the work with our ratepayers, our community, our advisory committee, and bring a new proposal back to the board.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate all the good work that your department does, and staff, and environmentally, fiscally, you do a lot of great work. I recognize that. So, my issue has been, again, I think that that as it relates to the rates that are embedded in this budget, that the SDCs, I think, need to be adjusted so there's less impact upon these ratepayers that are within this district. So on behalf of those folks, that's where my comments and concerns are, and that we really need to be updated on that, especially with the new board. We should be involved in what that is. And if the status quo is a status quo, then that's something that this new board should have a role in, but we have not had a role in that. And I understand we're building on an existing decisions or policies that were made, but I personally think we're behind the ball.
So you're just fleshing out the specifics.
Ooh, creative.
No, I won't go there. I will not go there. I had a question as a result of some discussions with the community group last night. There's a significant amount of planned development in, around, and near the Clackamas Community College. I would assume that will generate additional flow, but we're also at capacity currently with the plant. So what happens with development such as that's being planned by the city and the developer? Do you basically say, yes, you can go ahead and develop based on whether or not you have capacity, and say, no, you cannot go ahead and develop if you do not have capacity?
Yes, generally. So a couple years ago, when we were really coming to understand the magnitude of our capacity issue, that was the question. And it's not something that we would do on a case-by-case basis. It would be, at some point, we would institute a moratorium when we were absolutely at or over capacity or couldn't. at high risk of failing to meet our effluent limits. So we took a hard look at what was coming down the pipe from our development review folks, our growth projections, and we said, well, we need to start building this capacity, the solids handling capacity, as soon as possible. We moved that timeline up from, again, before my time, it was projected we would be doing that in the late 2020s. So we moved that forward. That was a whole process. And we, by doing that and by taking some operational measures as well as putting in some contingency plans, we are confident that we can handle the growth that's going to happen until we get that additional capacity online in 2020.
So at this point in time,
we are not telling people no, right?
You're not telling anybody no.
Correct.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, and besides, it takes a while to develop.
It does.
What will happen there, and also the pipes are new, so you have less I&I up there, and we have capacity until it rains a lot, right?
Well, it's actually our solids. The next increment of capacity is going to be a wet weather, our rainy season capacity. Right now, we're working on our solids handling capacity, which is not so much impacted by the wet weather. It really is growth. But again, we anticipated and are experiencing a certain level of growth, and we think that we can continue to accommodate that until we bring this new capacity online.
All right. Did you?
Just one other thing, Mr. On a side, my colleagues aren't aware of this, but I learned this morning that our schedule changed, and so I have something, I had to adjust my schedules to meet our executive session, so I'm going to leave because I had to just adjust my schedule, and I'll be back. So, but not, so.
All right. Okay. Let's add some things on while you're gone. Okay, any other questions? So I'll open the public hearing, ask if anyone would like to testify. And I'll close the public hearing because nobody came up, and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for the Water Environment Services as presented in the resolution.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Water Environmental Services as presented in the resolution. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So the next item is, I think the same folks are going to speak about it.
So I'm going to regret saying this, but I think you're probably thirsty for more, right? So we do have a board order, a public hearing to consider a board order amending and adopting rates and charges for water environment services. And again, Mr. Greg Geist and Doug Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Krupp. So, and just to give you a foreshadow here, so for both Water Environment Services, which is the 190 entity, and for CCSD number 1, we're going to have 3 things to do. One is the budget, the rates, and the SDCs. Next year, we can look forward to having a single experience with this once we bring CCSD number 1 into the fold, which is what we're going to be preparing for during this budget cycle. So with that, regarding WES and the rates, this year, in support of the budget that we just adopted, we are proposing a 3% rate increase for our wholesale customers, going from $21.50 a month per household to $22.15. That's, again, a 3% increase. For fiscal year 15-16 and 16-17, that was 5.3% and 7.5% respectively, and that's because we were trying to build reserves partially for the solids handling project that we're going to be working on now. We think we're in pretty good shape for that. So 3% this year. I should also mention that that's not necessarily what folks are going to be seeing in their bills because of the right-of-way fees that are being implemented by our cities. Currently, Oregon City charges a 6% right-of-way fee, so that's an additional $1.35 per household per month, and Gladstone at 5%, which is $1.10 on top of the $22.15. So, with that, I respectfully request that you approve the resolution to adopt the 2017-2018 rates for the Water Environment Services. Thanks.
Okay, any clarifying questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. See how popular we are today. I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we amend and adopt the rates and the charges for water environment services as presented in the board order.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend and adopt the rates and charges for water environmental services as presented in the board order. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Okay, so this is a public hearing for a board order adopting a methodology and establishing a new system development charge for water environment services.
Thank you again. So this is the final piece of the puzzle for the Water Environment Services. The last piece is to adopt the system development charges. For this year, we're proposing $3,125 per household, or per what we call an equivalent dwelling unit, as far as buy-in into our future capacity needs. I will say that this is a recommendation that was made by the Tri-City Advisory Committee at the time. We are in year 3 of a 5-year ramp-up from $2,020 back in 14-15, and we will get to $3,855 in fiscal year 19-20. That said, we are, as we alluded to with Commissioner Savas, going to be taking a look before 1920 at our system development charges. So that forecast may not be accurate just because we're going to be taking another look at what our needs are between now and then. That represents a 13% increase as part of that year 3 ramp up. And with that, I respectfully request that you approve the resolution adopting the SDCs for the Water Environment Services 190 entity.
Any clarifying questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. No, not you. All right, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt a methodology in establishing a new system development charge for water environment services as presented in the board order.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the methodology and establish a new system development charge for water environmental services as presented in the board order. Any further discussion? I just want to mention that this fee is only added to people who do new developments.
That's correct.
It's not going to be added to your bill. I'm sure everyone's going to watch this whole hearing. I want to make sure that I got that in there. Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, and thank you very much. Oh, wait, you still have to stay there, don't you? And now I'd like to announce that we're going to adjourn as governing body of Water Environmental Services and convene as Clackamas County Service District Number 1 for the next 3 items.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chair. And this may actually be the last year that we convene as the Clackamas County Service District Number 1 for budget purposes, because our goal over the coming years actually to consolidate and incorporate the service district into the West 190 entity. So with that, the first public hearing is a resolution adopting and appropriating funds for the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget for Clackamas County Service District Number 1. And we again have Mr. Greg Geist and Doug Wall here to help us with this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Krupp, and I can save a few words. Thank you for that introduction. We are going to be, this is the last year for CCSD Number 1 to be a going concern with respect to the budget. For this year, for the O&M capital debt service reserves, and the 190, essentially our savings transfer that's going to happen to affect the consolidation or the implementation of the 190 at the end of the year. The total budget is $133,905,429, which seems like a heck of a lot of money, and that is because of that end-of-year transfer that we're going to effect in order to fulfill the obligations under the 190. We had to do that this year via supplemental budget for Tri-City and Surface Water Management Agency, so by doing it now, we won't have to do the supplemental at the end of the year. Doug, do you want to add anything to that?
No, it's just we're trying to move along with the schedule for implementing the 190 completely and have it all done by the end of next fiscal year. So we'll be down to one entity.
Okay.
Great, I was hoping you'd say something. Maybe you'd like to testify on this matter after we go beyond this. Any other questions? I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone in the audience would like to testify. I think we should show the audience. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move we approve the actions and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County Service District Number 1 as presented in the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the action and adopt the 2017-2018 budget for Clackamas County Service District Number 1 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item?
Okay, the next item is a public hearing for consideration of a board order amending and adopting rates and charges for Clackamas County Service District Number 1.
Thank you again. So to support the overall budget, our rate proposal for this year is a 3% rate increase per household per month, which would take our rate from $45 per household per month for CCSD number 1 to $46.35 per month. Again, there would be, if you live in the city of Happy Valley, they're charging a 5% right-of-way fee that would add another $2.32 per month for those customers. Pretty straightforward. So with that, I respectfully request that you approve the resolution to adopt the 2017-18 rates for CCSD number 1.
Great question. If somebody's on a fixed income and this rate increase would hurt them, is there an opportunity to get some sort of discount or by providing proof of that information?
Yes, we do have a low-income discount program. Doug, do you want to?
Yeah, I forget the exact limit, but there's a little form you fill in. We require some proof of income, and then once you meet that threshold, we will charge you only half of the bill. So there is some help for folks that are in need.
Great. Commissioner Schrader.
So I'm noticing in here that we are charging 5% more to Happy Valley, which amounts to $2.32 because they're charging a right-of-way fee.
I would put it differently than that. They're charging their own customers that fee. It's not something that we instituted or even frankly supported. It's a right-of-way fee that the city charges to all of the utilities, including us now, for the privilege of using their right-of-way.
Right, and then my point is that's the reason why their rates have gone up.
Yes.
Because we're trying to recover the cost of the charge of a right-of-way fee.
Right. The city is charging us the 5%, and so in order for us to recoup that, we show it on a bill and say this is the right-of-way fee that is then just passed through back to the city. Right.
Now, I want to make it clear that actually it is a city. It was a city decision that caused the rise in this case for the people of Happy Valley. That's correct. I wanted to clarify for the public record.
It is revenue neutral to the district, and we do not charge that in the unincorporated area or to our other customers.
Okay.
So it's strictly Happy Valley.
Right.
So they charge the district the $5, and you in turn charge them the $5.
5%, $2.
5%. And so therefore, their taxpayers, their ratepayers are paying it.
Twice.
Not twice, but.
In effect, actually, Mr. Chairman, they are paying twice because when we go in to repair water pipes or sewer pipes or whatnot like that, you go into the city, you get a permit, you have to pay for that. You dig the hole at our expense. You fix the pipe at our expense. You patch the hole up and the road up at our expense. So it costs the city virtually nothing for us to maintain those pipes, and yet they turn around and they charge us, and therefore their own citizens, this fee, which in effect means the citizens end up paying twice. They're just paying different ways. They did it to us in the water district also, and unfortunately, at this point, it hasn't been resolved in the courts in our favor.
I was just gonna-
Administrator Krupp.
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick comment on that point. In many respects, you might sort of think of this as really being rent that the city charges for the presence of the service district's pipes being located under the right-of-way for the city. And the cities that charge this right-of-way fee actually have broad discretion in terms of how they would use the funds that are generated. City of Happy Valley, of course, is the only city in Service District Number 1 that charges this right-of-way fee. In the other, in the West entity, both the City of Gladstone and the City of Oregon City charge this same fee as well, and although at different rates. I think it's 5% for Gladstone, 6% for Oregon City. And again, we handle it in a similar manner in the other service districts.
Just a follow-up, and so we are aware that Gladstone has I&I issues, is that correct?
That is correct.
So to what Commissioner Humbertson said, basically then when we need to go in and fix those pipes? Is that our role?
Well, so that's, and I wouldn't single out Gladstone. I mean, Oregon
No.
City has had multiple years, for several years now, they've had moratoriums on development within the city because of their capacity problems and inflow and infiltration. West Lynn is not a stranger to this issue as well.
Okay.
And so Gladstone most recently became aware of a significant issue, but it's not
It's not
confined to any
specifically
city.
Gladstone, but again, my point was the other cities do have, but we are required to go in and repair that. And
So that's, when I talk about the future of our relationship and our work and our collaboration with the cities is going to be around this issue. When the districts were formed, whether it was the Tri-City District in the 1980 or CCSD number 1 in the late 70s, this issue was never envisioned. And so there's no agreement or no foundational document that says how the district, being a wholesale provider and just dealing with, in this case, dealing with the treatment, is going to interact or operate with the cities which own and operate the collection systems. And I've been looking a lot across the country and across the world at how that's done. And then there's a wide spectrum of approaches to that, from, I like to say, from carrots to sticks. Carrots being, we do share in the payment for that work, to sticks, where we simply charge a surcharge to those cities that have what we consider, or the industry considers, excessive peak flows. So that's going to be a big piece of work, and there's really there's no game plan or no playbook for that at this point. We're going to have to work on it together and come up with something that works for this area. Yeah.
that's going to be the next step.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't think I've done the public hearing portion of this. I didn't think so. Any other questions? I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we amend and adopt the rates and charges for Clackamas County Service District Number 1 as presented in the board order.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend and adopt the rates and charges for Clackamas County Service District 1 as presented in the board order. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now, one more.
Yes, and of course, when it rains, it pours, so we're kind of finally at the end of all of this. This last public hearing is a board order to consider establishing a new system development charges for Clackamas County Service District Number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Krupp. So yeah, the last piece of this is looking at the SDCs for CCSD number 1. We, several years ago, again, taken the recommendation of the River Health Advisory Board, which is the citizen advisory committee for the district. We established a system development charge. Is significantly more than what we're applying to the West entity. At this year will be $7,330 per household or per equivalent dwelling unit that enters the new development that happens in the district. And that's based on a 2.7% increase over last year, which was the recommendation. You know, we established the SDC, I think in 14-15, maybe 13-14. And part of that recommendation was, okay, this is the SDC. And until we revisit this and reestablish an SDC number, we would expect to have a 2.7% annual inflationary raise to that. So this is, and we've done that for the last several years. So that's what we're proposing this year. And with that, I respectfully request that you approve the resolution to adopt the 2017-18 SDCs for Clackamas County Service District Number 1.
Any clarifying questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we establish new system development charges for Clackamas County Service District Number 1 as presented in the board order.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we establish a new system development charge for Clackamas County Service District Number 1 as presented in the board order. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now I'd like to announce that we will adjourn as Clackamas County Service District Number 1 and reconvene as Clackamas County Board of Commissioners for the remaining portion of this meeting. And I think Ken was up first.
Yeah, before we go to the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, I just would like to make some comments for the audience that may have tuned in for the first time to this process, because it may seem very pro forma to people watching it, and as if we're not paying attention to the depth of this responsibility. So to let people know what actually goes on in this process, many, many weeks of staff time were involved in the development of this budget. Many, many hours of the county commissioner's time was involved in looking at this budget, working on this budget, and coming to the conclusions that led to this meeting. And then most importantly, that at least 50 citizens who donate their time served on all of the different boards where we wear these different hats to assist us and represent even more in depth the interests of the public to make sure that we are doing our job and doing it in a responsible way. And I want to give kudos to those 50 citizens that stand up every year and help us do this process. It's appreciated, their work is appreciated, it's valuable, and I just want to reassure people that are watching this that a lot of energy and effort on a part of a lot of people went into making sure we have a responsible budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, I should have mentioned this for the first budget, which is our overall county budget, but in the era of transparency, I just want to state that my husband, Kirk Mauser, runs the Youth Theater for Change program through the Juvenile Department, and he is paid as a contractor for that, and that is in this budget, and he also serves on the Tourism Council, and may in the future this year, I'm not sure, but may be interested in applying for grants through some possible arts activities that may occur in Clackamas County. So just wanted to state that for the record and declare any potential conflict of interest in approving that budget.
Okay, I want to make a couple comments too. I want to thank staff and all the citizen volunteers for all the hard work they did. This is a culmination of months of hard work, a lot of challenges, and wanted to thank Water Environmental Services for undertaking a $37.5 million project to add capacity to Tri-Cities. We just had those budgets. And Clackamas County 911 CCOM who completed interest arbitration and implemented a schedule change which will result in decreased overtime and reduce comp time expenditures. Also, Public Health brought in partners to train and supply law enforcement to carry naloxone
Naloxone.
as overdose antidote. which will help fight the national opioid addiction here in the county. And DTD staff responded to 300,000 development requests and performed 47,000 inspections, all which achieved outstanding marks for customer service. And special thanks to the 5 citizen residents who served on the budget committee. They, for the general fund, spent particularly long hours working on this. Let's see what else. Well, with that, let me see, I had one more note. So we also were today we're finishing the budget. We've had numerous budget hearings, and today we have finally adopted it, the 2017-2018 budget. And I anticipate, my prediction is next year will be better. And we look forward to having some money to put towards our goals of reducing hunger, poverty, and homelessness in Clackamas County. And with that, Commissioner Schrader.
I just want to make one comment, too, for the public, that as you go through these budgets, you now notice the new line that we have alignment with a strategic plan called Performance Clackamas. And that really is critical because it takes the broad brush of what we do. And for example, for water and environment services, it was build public trust through good government. Customers will continue to benefit from a well-managed utility. And that actually translates down as you delve deeper into the budgets with actual deliverables that are tracked and can be monetized. And we are, how many years has it been now? About 5 years into this process?
Oh,
And
it's 3 years.
3 years into this process. And eventually, there will be a, what do they call it, a landscape on our website?
Yes, yeah,
kinda like
the dashboard.
dashboard that will give our citizens an opportunity to look directly at those deliverables. And it's been a really good process. I think it's improved our budget process tremendously. It's given it far more focus, and I've done many of these since 2003, local and state. And I think that framework for managing it will clarify to the public what we do, how we do it, and really what good servants of the public good that our staff is here in this county. I'd like to think we are too, but really they're the boots on the ground, as Ken mentioned, that really make this county run and really do the hard work. And our job is to take the tomatoes so they can continue and do what they need to do for the rest of the public. So thanks. Good budget, do pass.
I'd like to thank our new commissioners, Ken Humberston and Sonia Fisher. Probably the most challenging thing you do as a commissioner in that first year and the short time you learn how to look at government budgets. I know Ken has served on a water district, is probably a little bit more familiar, but you both took it and ran with it and learned a lot and participated, and I think should be proud of what we accomplished.
So.
And next year will be a lot of fun. I also wanted to mention, I was wondering why I had a 2 and a 1 here. We had 2 people come to the budget meeting. That's the hearings that we had, 2 people. And we've had 1 at this one. That would be Les Poole. The other one was Northwest Housing Alternatives, which we did fund a project. We didn't fund the project. We gave them some money. And but every year somebody says, are you spending your money the right way, properly, to help our citizens? But not except for one citizen, Les Poole, who showed up today. We haven't had any participation in the public. But it's also true that our various departments do spend more time with the public, and I'm sure they hear from the public what they think is a priority. One of them, I know the sheriff's budget's big, but the sheriff and public safety is one of the #1 concerns that citizens have, and that's why it's important that we fund that. Healthcare is another. So funding those programs are key, and I think all of us agree that in juvenile programs, any program that helps children and homelessness and reduces hunger is worth an investment, because it will save us in the money in the future. And so the bet was $12.30. I don't know who's got that pool bet. So with that, we're going to ask the clerk to please read the consent agenda by title.
Okay, today's consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Lake Oswego for medical direction for the Lake Oswego Fire Department and Communication Center. Approval of a renewal intergovernmental agreement with Washington County for the city's Readiness Initiative program. Approval to apply for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration Zero Suicide Grant. Approval for renewal and revenue interagency agreement with Clackamas County Community Corrections to provide behavioral health services to community corrections consumers. Approval of an amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Folk Time for peer services for the Stewart Community Center and Hilltop Adult Services Center. Approval of an interagency services agreement with Clackamas County Health Centers Behavioral Health Clinic and Clackamas County Behavioral Health Division for the transfer of grant funds awarded for supported employment services. Approval of amendment number 2 to the agency services contract with LifeWorks for early assessment and support alliance services. Approval of agency services contract amendment number 1 with LifeWorks Northwest for Assertive Community Treatment Program. Under the Department of Transportation and Development, a board order approving the solid waste management fee adjustments. A resolution supporting the Metro 2040 Community Planning and Development grants for Housing Authority of Clackamas County Hillside Master Plan and Park Avenue Development and Design Standards Project. Approval of a supplemental project agreement number 31035 with Oregon Department of Transportation for the Jennings Avenue, Oregon 99E to Oakfield Road project. Approval of a contract amendment number 3 to the professional services contract with Claire Company to provide on-call plan review and inspection services. Approval of a renewal for the contract with Pack Green Nurseries and Landscape for landscape maintenance services for various landscape roadway areas in Clackamas County. Under our elected officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes, approval of a contract with Ron Saunders for commercial and industrial consulting services for the Department of Assessment and Taxation, a request by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office for approval and an amendment to the Horizon Health Medical Services contract. Under the Department of Finance, approval of fiscal year 17-18 work and financial plan with the U.S. Department of Agricultural, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, Wildlife Services for Predator Management, that's our county trapper. Approval of contract amendment number 4 and remainder renewal numbers 3 and 4 with Centes Corporation for uniform services for facilities management, and approval to use the State of Oregon contract documents with TVW Inc. for janitorial services at various Clackamas County facilities. Under Community Corrections, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Wilsonville to provide work crew services for fiscal year 17-18. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement, amendment number 1, with the City of Happy Valley to provide work crew services for fiscal year 17-18. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement, amendment number 1, with the City of Milwaukee to provide work crew services for fiscal year 17-18, and approval of contract amendment number 1 and renewal number 2 with CODA Inc. to provide drug assessment and community correction for community correction clients at the Transition Center. Under Business and Community Services, approval of an amendment and restated intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County, the City of Oregon City, Metro, and the State of Oregon to continue the public partnership on the Willamette Falls Legacy Project. Under our Juvenile Department, we have approval of Amendment Number 3 to contract 931488 with Metro for juvenile work crew services. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon, acting by and through its Oregon Youth Authority for individualized services for youth offenders and their families. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon, acting by and through its Oregon Youth Authority for juvenile crime prevention, basic services, and diversion services. Under our Development Agency, approval of an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County Development Agency and North Clackamas School District Number 12 for Wichita Center for Family and Community Improvements. Approval of a disposition agreement and continuing control agreement with Trammell Crow Portland Development, Inc. Under Water Environment Services, approval of an amendment and an amendment to easement 34139 EA between Oregon Department of State Lands and Clackamas County. Approval of a service connection mortgage in the North Clackamas service area for Clackamas County Service District Number 1. And approval of a board order to create new accounting funds for water environment services. And that concludes today's consent agenda.
Wow.
Good job.
This is probably one of the busier meetings we have.
Yes.
So, any questions? Entertain a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next is County Administrator updates.
So I hope you don't mind, after all that work, I was going to read this all back to you. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
please do. Page 89, I have a question.
Don't you dare.
But I did want to take a moment. We've shared a number of thank yous about the budget process, but I wanted to take a moment to thank you for the work effort, time, energy you put into the budget process this year and the very smooth way we handled the adoption process today. So thank you for that. I don't really have an administrator's report today. I do want to remind the board that we are scheduled for an executive session, though, following this meeting. I do have a request from Commissioner Savas, though, that we wait until he returns before actually convening that executive session. And he certainly, I think he thinks he'll be able to get back before it's the final scheduled time of 1 p.m. So as soon as he gets back between now and that time, we'll be able to convene the executive session.
He better be, or we will vote to adjourn. Okay, so next up is Commissioner Communication. We'll start down at that end.
Well, given the length of this meeting and the details of this meeting, I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm going to skip straight to the dog adoption. This is Rose. She is as beautiful as a rose and as sweet as one, too. She is a nice, calm, gentle, middle-aged girl that is very well-mannered. She walks well on a leash, sits on command, and is very gentle when taking treats. She likes to go for walks and lay around while you're working on your computer. She is a confident girl that will need to meet any other dogs that she may share a new home with. If you're looking for an easygoing companion, she may be just the girl for you. For more information about Rose and other adoptable dogs, please contact Clackamas County Dog Services at 503-655-8628 or at www.clackamas.us/dogs.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, I just want to mention the importance of the transportation package. I've been driving around our wonderful Clackamas County a lot lately, going to community meetings, and the congestion is terrible. We all care about the health and welfare of our citizens, and I think the stress that is impacted for all of us because of the congestion is really important. I have been encouraging everybody that I talk to call their legislators to really push the passage of a package that includes relieving the congestion on I-205. And that has been the forefront of, I think, all of our minds, and that is what I want to mostly share today.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, just a few things. This past Monday, I prepped with Water and Environment Services. I've been asked by the, as hopefully representing the board, by the National Association of Counties to go down at the the meeting that they're having, their conference, to present on the collaborative efforts that WES has done with other entities in the area, including the water districts. So that's exciting. So I'm getting briefed on that and beginning to know more and more about sewer districts. Not that I didn't know it before, but now we're really going down into the sludge. So anyway. And we should be really proud because Clackamas County, I believe, is winning other awards. I'll know more about those, but our county consistently at these national conferences is highlighted and showcased for the work we do here. And I really want the public to know that because I think that we're innovative, and what that shows is that we are actually coming up with models that other counties look at as best practices. I had an opportunity to go down to another conference in San Francisco attended by Greater Portland, Inc., the Port of Portland, Secretary of State Dennis Richardson, representatives from the California Department of Transportation, and Governor Jerry Brown, where we are continuing to build our relationship with our China connection and Chinese investors. And I was glad I was there because one of the things that was highlighted was our Willamette Falls Legacy Project that the county has taken a role in with Metro and Oregon City. So it was good to have a county representative there to say, yes, you know, this is our county and we want investment in our area. Stopped by the Schoolyard Farm Project, met Commissioner Fisher there, where folks are growing fresh food in their garden project for children at the school there. It's a great, just wonderful to see that. And other than that, let's pull up the arts and I'll be done. Okay, arts and culture activities, Milwaukee Poetry Series, a reading with Carl Adamczyk. Carl Adamczyk is the author of Curses and Wishes, which won the Walt Whitman Award from the Academy of American Poets, and St. Friend, published with McSweeney's. Both titles received an Oregon Book Award. Thursday, June 29th, 7 p.m. at the Lenning Library Pond House in Milwaukee. Clackamas Repertory Theater presents Baskerville, a Sherlock Holmes mystery. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson must crack the mystery of a family curse before it dooms its newest heir. Watch as our intrepid investigators try to escape a dizzying web of clues, silly accents, disguises, and deceit as 5 actors deftly portray more than 40 characters. Continues through July 23rd. This production is funded in part by a Clackamas County Cultural Coalition project grant. Thursday through Saturday, June 29th through July 1st, 7:30 p.m., and Sunday, July 2nd, 2:30 p.m. at the Osterman Theater on the Clackamas Community College campus. I get to do a walk-on one of those nights, so that's going to be a fun part for me. For more information, go to clackamasartsalliance.org.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you. First, I'd like to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. We will be here next Thursday, but we have the first portion. We'll be celebrating with you the 4th of July. Also want to thank yesterday PGA for the work they did to put together the IGA signing agreement among 5 political bodies, and that is the Stafford area was the IGA. It also means that the reserves have been finalized, and this has been a 10-year process, at least. Before I got here, they were starting the process. So I want to congratulate and thank the cities for the hard work they did, staff for the hard work they did, and you guys for all the hard work we did. But PGA really had a fantastic event yesterday that everyone left with a smile on their face. And it wasn't so long ago, there weren't a lot of smiles. So appreciate the work they did, and the film crew for filming it, and the photographers for taking it, and the printers for making the giant IGA things. And it turned out to be a great event. Again, I want to mention the transportation package. I think it's key that we make those investments, and go big or go home is what I've heard, and we need to do this because we cannot leave the burden of road maintenance or building on our children and our children's children, which we've been doing a long time now. So call your legislator and tell them to fix those roads and bridges, and vote for the transportation package, the full package. With that, I want to thank you again, and we are adjourned. I have a lot of signatures. Thank you. Bye.